Well, all right. It's looking a little bit like New Year's. Hey, so a couple days after Christmas, and right now I'm just testing out my StreamYard. I haven't used it for a while, and I'm testing out going on both channels live simultaneously, the Mob True Crime channel and the Mob and Organized Crime TV channel. So just seeing what's up here with all the different types of banners. There we go. All right. So sub to Mob True Crime on YouTube. Sub to Mob and Organized Crime TV on YouTube. And down the road, we're going to have guests and do some other stuff. All right. So let's see here. Testing out this one. All right. Become a channel member. Here we go. There we go. All right. The little thing going down there. Show the website. Here we go. All right. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Let's see. Which one am I live at? Should be both of them. Testing, yo. Testing. See what kind of alerts go out. Okay. Test out the alerts. All right, cool. There's one. Try the other one. What's up? I'm testing out my StreamYard. Whoever's in here besides me, Merry Christmas, belated. Happy New Year's in advance. So check this out. Since I'm testing out my StreamYard, I'm going to show one of the stories that we're going to be doing when we actually start doing this after the first. And it's a crazy story, you guys, from LA, which is the land of crazy. So this will give me a good chance to test out my share screen. So check this out, you guys. So there's a getting this back. Been a long time since I've done this. All right, so here we go. Share screen. So this right here, you guys, is a crazy dude. Okay, this is from Poker News. It was on the local LA news. This was in November. This dude right here, you guys, he's you can see the name right here highlighted. Do you see that word? It's from one of our best friends. That nation there is our absolute bestest friend in the world. That's what every politician says. So, anyways, this dude was operating in LA for years. He got deported because he's a citizen of our best friend land. Start calling it best friend land since you can't say that word really on YouTube these days. So he's a mobster from best friend land. And what happened was he ended up taking out or having some dudes taken out in LA over some poker stuff. So one of the big rackets that started going during the whole issue with the with what's the proper terminology for 2020, that whole thing, I'm not sure if I can say certain things still. So the time where we wore masks, during that time period there were, everybody's at home, and so one of the things that happened in LA was a lot of guys, especially in the rich areas, started doing poker. They started doing high stakes poker from homes, and then it just, after that whole stuff was lifted, the they ended up just carrying it on. And so one of the main players in this whole thing was a mobster from our best friend land, and he is named Asaf Waknine, also known as Ace. He was sent out of here in 2011, but he operates out of Mexico now. And so this dude is not the kind of guy to be messing with. He is, he may have a smile in this picture, but he is not the kind of guy to screw around with. So he now, again, works out of Mexico, handling stuff in California. And he has very extensive ties to the Mexican mafia that's in LA. Keep in mind, the guys south of the border are not the Mexican mafia. They're Mexicans that are involved with cartels, but that is not what we call the mafia when we're referring to Mexican mafia in California. These guys are out of California, the actual Mexican mob. So he had those guys doing his legwork in LA while he's in Mexico hanging out with his bros down there. He also had Crips gang members. Look at that. This guy's a really good multiculturalist. See that? He had Crips and Mexican mobsters to serve as intimidation for some of the backroom poker games that he was hosting in Beverly Hills and elsewhere. And so I'm going to play a video about this from the LA newscast. This dude was hardcore. He was indicted in the Central District of California for all kinds of stuff. And he ended up taking a dude out and whatnot, deleting him. But we'll go ahead and play the next. Let's see here. Again, thank you. I'm practicing right now, y'all. You can watch this if you like, but I'm practicing. So stop sharing. We'll go to screen share. We're going to share this here. Now, this explains who he really is. And I think now that we're a few minutes into this, we can play this without our friends at YouTube getting upset with the language. Here, guys. See this here? Look at that. One text message. Boom. Chain of fire and it's a little ironic that they probably didn't want to broadcast this guy's case. That they didn't want to broadcast this guy's case, here on the national level. It's part of being part of best friend land and some of the benefits of being best friends with America. Yo, what's up? I knew the truth would be around here somewhere. Hey, check it out. The truth. This guy here that I'm showing, he is from the nation that is our best friend. He is from, we can't say a whole lot of the names and stuff because you can get issues with YouTube because they don't know how to interpret certain things. They think you're being anti-something, anti-best friend. So I just call it best friend land. This guy is a mobster from best friend land who did some crazy stuff in Beverly Hills recently. Yeah, you may be right. You may be right. Yeah, look at that. Is that not crazy or what? You guys, Ace and his bro connected to the Vatos Locos and the El Cripos. Yeah, in fact, it ain't worth having a celebrity poker game if you're gonna have this guy adding some his own decorations to. Hey, look at this in here. Look at that crazy guy, huh? Hey, look at that dude. You knew that this guy has that look. By the way, this guy was ready to do that. That's another topic for another time. But that guy was ready, ready, ready for that. So, all right. So here we go. All right. Hey, you know what? Here, let's put the truth up on the screen, man. What's up? That's funny. That's funny. Yeah. So check it out. So exactly. Well, during the whole issue in 2021 and 2020, where we weren't able to go anywhere, back one of the things that evolved and started to happen in California was guys started doing poker games from their homes. And it was, poor people, middle class, everybody, right? So these upper class guys in Beverly Hills and Rancho Cucamonga and some of the other places down there. I say down there because I'm north of there. They start doing the things, and this guy Ace, from Best Friend Land, started getting involved, shaking them down, and shaking down high rollers, celebrities, all that stuff that were involved with these. And ultimately, they didn't pay or whatever happened. Hey, our best friend decided to be, do what he pleased on this one. So here, since you just got here a little bit ago, here, we'll do a share screen with the article again real quick. All right. So right here, Best Friend Land mobster threatens poker game hosts, likely to end up, that kind of thing. But so they basically, the Department of Homeland Security, and whenever they deal with guys from Best Friend Land, by the way, you're gonna find that the guys from Best Friend Land usually get off with the lightest end of the sentencing. Sometimes they don't even go at all. This guy, I don't think's gonna, I don't know if he's ever gonna make it. He's operating out of Mexico. So this guy here, the truth, name's Asaf Waknine, known as Ace. He was deported back to Best Friend Land in 2011. However, he didn't stay in Best Friend Land. He decided to set up shop in Mexico and got involved with, he's got connections down there with those guys, and then in LA with the Mexican mob, which obviously is an American group, but they, got the background there. So scrolling down, this guy got hit with with a case right on Halloween, and he obviously has not made it to court. I don't think he's going to be in court anytime soon. And the accused criminal from Best Friend Land is not in custody, whereabouts unknown, right? So he basically was providing protection for this game, one of the games down there, and he took out another guy, by the way, another mobster from Best Friend Land, 39-year-old Israeli citizen Emil Lahasil, outside of an LA poker game hosted by the next guy that he, handled. And they partnered with gangbangers and other dudes to, make sure that these guys paid in. The buy-ins, by the way, were from 20,000 to millions of bucks. These were like Beverly Hills freaking high rollers, guys from the movie industry, all that kind of stuff. So he was taxing their profits, and they went, what happens? Ultimately, some people don't want to pay, and they decided, some decided to walk out and didn't have a problem. This other guy, not so much. But These things, these poker nights are freaking off the hook money makers for these guys. Any of these, especially during that time because everybody was getting, the loan money from the government, and then others were getting, boosted unemployment and other stuff. So it was a time period where there was a lot of money to be made, and they still do it now. It sticks around. It's stuck around despite the end of the whole thing there with that. So when it comes to these guys, here we go. All right, look at that. Hey, what's up, Senor Wolf? What's up, buddy? You like that? Best friend land. They always say that these guys are our best friend, right? They're our best friend, right? And they don't do anything wrong, and if they do, then we cut them some slack. So our friends from best friend land, and I like most of the people in best friend land, for the record. Yeah, 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 yeah. Vlad heard about him, I'm sure. Vlad was like, okay. Vlad's gonna try to have these guys on, and he's gonna say, okay, so you have these poker nights. Can you give us the names of the people that showed up? I mean, it is illegal. Let's hear some names. You know, yeah. Who knows? Maybe Vlad was part of them, but maybe he was one of the players. Who knows? All right, there we go. Yep, the truth. I'm going to start calling this place Best Friend Land. So basically, these guys are the modern day Mickey Cohen and Bugsy Siegel, basically. And if you look at the whole scene in Southern California, going back literally 100-something years, you'll see that the Italians had a good presence there, but more of a presence was really our best friends. And our best friends from Best Friend Land, like Mickey Cohen, Bugsy Siegel, that whole crew of guys, they were always tied in and whatnot. Yeah, no doubt. Best Friend Land. If I was to do a channel pointing out things from Best Friend Land, I would call it Best Friend Land too. Yeah, he wants the video surveillance state. I bet the government, DHS, they want that stuff. And also, it's no surprise that our friend from Best Friend Land is wanted and has not made it into court, but a lot of the other defendants have. So hey, he's playing the game. I guess more power to him. It is what it is. But these guys today, you can see they're still doing it though. These guys are definitely, 100 years ago, it was guys from Best Friend Land. And today it's guys from Best Friend Land. And the guys from Best Friend Land, they run the show. There a lot of times they are the top dogs with these other groups too. They work with the other groups, and then they're very good at getting the other groups to work with them and to ensure loyalty through different means. And more power to them. They've got certain skills, those guys. But SoCal is the land of Best Friend Lands. Here, let me see if I can show you guys something here. I got something you may want to see too. Since we're testing out we're going to test out my thing here. I got one for you. Check this out. Okay. On to a news story. Did you, Wolf and Truth, did you guys see Mike Lee, the senator, is putting a bill forward to allow private industry, private citizens, and private corporations to start being pirates, going after the guys that are moving stuff in the Caribbean and in the Pacific towards on the western side of Mexico into California. They're going to let these guys become pirates. They're going to start allowing them to just go outright and try to, go at the who's from south of the border and down in Venezuela and Colombia and all those places on their own. It's kind of a unique idea. It's a play from back in the day when during the Revolutionary War, there was privateers that attacked the British ships and stuff. And yeah, it's gonna see a lot of stuff could go wrong there. I get the premise because in the 1700s, it's kind of what There's a lot of those wars. That's how they fought, right? We had privateers, guys on small boats going after the British Navy, right? But this, yeah. Can you imagine? Hey, Wolf. How about me and you become pirates, right? What I'll do is I'll go out there to New Orleans. I'm gonna fly out there, okay? I'm gonna fly out to New Orleans, and you and I will get a big old boat, you know, like Forrest Gump, right? And but we'll turn it into a pirate ship, and we'll have like we'll set up some old school cannons up in there. We can we'll find some parakeet to be on the boat, get some dude to be up on the top, and start with the privateering, start seizing. We'll seize coke shipments and we'll sell it. Hey, we'll we'll seize a bunch of coke shipments, right? 200 pounds, but we'll bring back to the DEA. Hey, you'll never guess, we got 100 pounds here. The other 100, we'll take it to the guy in Beverly Hills there. Those guys can move it. Yeah, I think there's gonna be some palin. Yeah. Good old what's his name? Who's the guy that runs Palantir? Peter Thiel. All right, so perhaps the military also, so they don't have to pay pensions, retirees, security company, large turnover of employees. Yeah, you know what will happen too is there's gonna be guys. Inevitably, there'll be something happening. Yeah, that's something negative is gonna happen, and you'll see them retaliating against these privateers. Again, it's a unique thing. But here, I'm gonna play the video where Mike Lee actually somebody talks about what Mike Lee is doing. I don't think Mike Lee has made an official uh a formal thing here. Yeah, Palantir's the new the new East India Company, right? The new West Indies trading. Yeah, they work alike, bro. They work alike, man. Okay, so here we go. Let's try this one. All right. What do we got here?
Senator Mike Lee wants American privateers. He's literally calling it Patriots of the Caribbean, literally, because he wants people to be able to, quote unquote, hijack and seize drug cartel property in the Caribbean.
Look at that.
So yeah, I was thinking Patriots of the Caribbean is a twist from
crazy.
Pirates because piracy is sort
funny,
of what he's
though.
advocating.
He is advocating for piracy, but if you are the government that supports this privateering, then it's not piracy, right? I mean, the United States, before we were the United States, and
piracy,
in the Revolutionary War times,
Patriots,
people who were seizing British ships, even British ships, especially commercial ships, right? they had the blessing of the federal government, and so
Senator got a piece of the action.
Well,
right.
But they had the blessing of the government because and if you've seen the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, they had the blessings of the British government, right? To go out and seize ships, especially from Spain and other places. Anyway, it's just.
So do you suppose he's advocating for private citizens to
yeah. This is literally language of the bill. Although not issued, so the letters of marque are literally a permission from the federal government to go capture other ships. So it allows private individuals or companies, it could be a company, to, quote, outfit private warships for the purposes of sinking or capturing vessels belonging to enemy nations. And so Senator Lee said the Constitution provides for letters of marque and reprisal as a tool against the enemies of the United States.
Can you imagine the potential for disaster with this from both angles? What if you shoot?
Yes.
What if you sink a cruise ship? You know what I mean? And from another nation that you don't like, or what if the boat that you're trying to interdict has its own arms and the private citizens from the United States think that they're being patriot pirates?
Patriot pirates. There we go. Look, his bill would allow American privateers to seize the property of cartels or cartel-linked groups, quote, on land or sea, and, quote, to employ all means reasonably necessary to seize that property.
Hey, John, we can handle them on not just in the water, apparently on the land too, bro. So, hey, pull over, do what they do down south of the border. Dress up in military garb. Hey, me and Wolf get out, and a few other guys from this genre or whatever's left of this fake genre. Hey, what's up? Get out there and handle them, bro.
Against the cartels, right? Those are the modern day. And look, not a laughing matter. Piracy is actually a real thing, and it does happen. And there are pirates who do capture ships, hold people hostage, kill them even sometimes, right? But I'm thinking this probably doesn't have a really big chance of passing in the federal government. But there's a House version too.
Crazy.
It is a little encouraging that he says seizing property instead of blowing it up, which is what we're doing now. I mean, because but then when he prefaces it by take all means necessary, that could mean, killing or harming the individuals pulling the ship, driving the ship, and then seizing it. I mean, it's just this can't go anywhere. This is not good.
There's an international declaration. It's called the Paris Declaration, respecting maritime law of 1856, and it formally banned privateering. But the U.S. didn't sign that treaty.
Yeah.
So I think what we do is we give 2 kids from every state
privateering
a little battleship,
illegal, huh?
a little miniature battleship. Send them out for a week and see who comes back with the most booty.
Bring in booty.
It must be close to Christmas because we just cannot be serious. So it's at least a semi-serious bill, but the title of the bill is
capture some
Patriots
booty
of the Caribbean.
some bricked up booty.
Oh my gosh! Look, he's probably not laughing, but
no, maybe not.
But we do think it's funny. We also don't think it.
Hey, yo, hey, John. I know. That's straight up, bro. That's like legitimate private piracy, bro. Look, not we take it, bro. We take it and just outright seize it, right? Just boom. That's taking booty from another nation, taking their stuff, and then he's gonna go resell it, and he's like, the F you gonna do about it, right? Trump is a crazy one at times, right? He's entertaining, and he's better than the last guy, but it's just some of this stuff you're like, what is he thinking? Like, just throwing out ideas. I mean, what would happen really though? Like, you're out in the Caribbean, regular dudes that, just say like ex-military guys in particular, right? They're out there. You got a couple dudes that made it up into the Navy a little bit, and some Marines and a few some guys that may have had some special forces training. They work together kind of like the A-team, and then they're out there in the Caribbean just doing their sailing, and they got their ship ready. And then boom, what happens? They see a bunch of Mexicans in a big boat that's really long, and it appears to have bales in it, right? Or they see, Colombians in a big old boat, and like, hey, go seize the Mexican booties. Yeah, that's gonna freaking do well, shiver me timbers. Yeah, she's crazy, but we live in a crazy world, and it gets crazier by the day. I'm not fazed by it, quite frankly. I got my popcorn for this world. I watch it, I observe it, I laugh at it. Sometimes I'm astounded by it, but overall, the crazy world we live in. Yeah, be on. One thing Trump does do that he's sort of honest about when he took it, he said, "I'm taking your stuff." He says it. Yeah, I'm taking your stuff. What are you gonna do about it? Trump, like him or not on this stuff, Trump's not the most constitutional, kind of guy when it comes to the Fourth Amendment and some of these things. But he's honest. He'll tell you, "Hey, we're taking it from you." He's not like before the U.S. government, when they would do stuff, they'd have like Obama up there, and he'd speak very articulate about it, or Clinton, right? Or Bush would act like just some guy, oh shucks, from some dude that's from Texas, barbecue, with Trump, he's like, "I'm taking your stuff." what the F you going to do about it? Obama and them, today we launched a mission to retrieve property in international waters that belongs rightfully to the people of the Venezuelan Republic. You know, they get all, they use public relations language and they do their stuff. Trump is just like, skip all that. You know, he's almost like a New York boss in his own way, right? You know, he comes from that mentality. He comes from the Boss Tweed and freaking Tammany Hall kind of mentality. And he took Tammany Hall federal, basically. They all do. The other guys all do it too. So I'm not, you know, calling him out like he's some aberration when it comes to that angle. But basically he's like an old school New York political boss who's now got the, you know, he's got the White House. He took Tammany Hall to the White House, basically. And so, you know, again, he's better than the last one, but, you know, the last guy didn't have a brain that was functional. So anybody can do better than that. And, you know, compared to who he went up against, obviously, you know, he's better than that. Yeah, you know what's interesting, John? Okay, you say that there, right? That's factually true. And that he was a Democrat his whole life, right? He's always been kind of like a union supporting Democrat as far as like what he's always put out there. He's always put this thing out there. He's the billionaire that gives bonuses to the union workers, right? He's sort of like the Pat Buchanan, you know, on the Republican side. Pat Buchanan was always like a paleo conservative who was like, protect our jobs, protect the unions from having, you know, foreign labor and keep the borders closed, all that stuff, which, you know, I'm not for mass migration or any of that either. But that's sort of the mentality, right? The paleo conservatives and the old union Democrats kind of had something in common. The trade protectionism, their whole ideology that, you know, of course, America first, which is a good ideology. I mean, you know, who can argue with that? But I think Trump, in some ways, yes, he switched over and he's doing his thing. And you know what's interesting too, Wolf, with the whole Jeffrey, you know who file. He's saying this is not, hey, this is old news and it's nothing but Dems. Well, back in the day, he was a Dem, right? So if he's saying that it's nothing but Democrats from 10, 20, 30 years ago in there, what was he 10, 20, 30 years ago? He became a Republican in like 20, what? I think he switched over during the Tea Party days, right? Because he was giving speeches at the Turning Point events and giving speeches at the C. What's the one C something? One of the Con Inc. events, whatever. But he basically he'd been giving those speeches every so often. And back in 2012, I remember him going on a stage saying that Bill Clinton and others were going to have a big problem once this Jeffrey thing came out, right? Well, again, who's he in a picture with on their wedding on his wedding day? He's got Bill and Hill, you know, looking at each other and whatnot. So, as good old George Carlin said, it's a big club and you're not in it. But I don't believe it's a big club. It's a small club and you're not in it. He got it mostly right there. It's a small club and you're not in it. The rest of us are just regular folks, and you just have to do what you got to do with what's available. But yeah, you know, again, the whole thing where he's like, you know, they're talking about privatizing certain things, you know, the privatizing, you know, drug seizures. Really, we're gonna have privatize drug seizures. Right? Think about that. I mean, look, the DEA probably has its, you know, the DEA has like a, you know, they've got their own issues at times with people that are a little corrupt sometimes. You know, I think most DEA agents are good guys and good women, but the rank and file ones and the middle management ones and even many of the top level ones, when you get to the when you get to the point where it's the political level of the DEA, where they have to answer to foreign policy, that's when they stop being able to do their job. Because what happens is the CIA tells them, well, the guy that you're about to go nail, he's over here. He's with us. So you will do your investigation right up to like right there. These guys in here, this zone, are off limits. You bust everybody else. You get federal cases against a lot of these kind of upper middle class top dogs in the drug business, and everybody below, and then let the states and the local county guys handle the lower level ones caught up in that whole thing. That's usually how that stuff works. And yeah, asset forfeiture. You know what I think is going to happen too, Wolf? And you can see the writing on the wall here, because the U.S. government is so far in debt that I think ultimately when the left gets power back, they're going to start using race and other standards for who gets tax benefits and whose cities and whose areas get tax funding. They'll make you pay. Everybody's going to have to pay. They'll probably tax a certain group. See this? The people who kind of resemble me, they're going to tax us higher. And then they're going to start saying, well, no, you guys have, you guys have systematic this and systematic that. So that's our reason for not financing your areas. They're going to go with race-based standards. It won't be long. You can see the writing on the wall. The political left is absolutely anti-us. There's just, I wouldn't vote for that party under any circumstance just for that reason alone. Only a fool would vote for a political party that hates them based on their immutable characteristics. But and you can see on the right that there's a rise of people that are, in the crowd of like the Myron Gaines guys, Fuentes. Let's see, you got basically the whole kind of the multiracial anti-Semitic movement. The multiracial anti-Semitic kind of movement. Myron's like an Arabic dude. Fuentes is like 1/4 Hispanic. And there's a group of others too that put a lot of that stuff. Ian Carroll put stuff out. There's different guys like that, right? So they're all part of like an insurgency within the right. And I think ultimately, once this really does play out, you're going to see both parties are going to have some of its extremes that are going to probably take control of certain seats. I don't think that the people that are, that are on the Fuentes team, they're not going to go away. Those guys are going to they're going to start winning offices too. And they're going to have their little battles with the Shapiro neocons and the Mark Levins of the world. And then you're going to see on the left, you're going to see the whack job, Mom Danny and those kinds of people, the anti-whites, the communist anti-whites. You're going to see them fighting to gain control of the Democrats. And either the sides are going to take it from them, take it from the mainstream, and we're going to have like a communist party and a semi-fascist party, or those ends are going to break off and we may end up with 3 or 4 parties. People hate both parties already because of the whole Jeffrey thing and a few other things too. So we may see a completely different coalition in the political world sometime down the road here. Again, I got my popcorn. I love it. I got my popcorn. However the world goes, it goes. I'll be fine. I'll always do fairly well. And, I've always been able to figure out a way and, enjoy some of the crazy stuff in the meantime, so. But privatized drug seizures, bro. Privatization of the drug war, and then how do you patrol for that? If you have private guys storming boats, bro, they find again, there's 200 keys of blow on a ship. By the time it gets back to the government office, there's only 50 left. And then they are going to end up being the dope dealers. So we're going to have a situation where cartels are going to have the risk of their shipments getting jacked, right? And those guys reselling. And then also the cartels are not going to just take that stuff either, okay? They're ultimately going to be like, no, these private industry guys, it's going to turn into gun battles in a matter of time. It's going to be a matter of time before, projectiles are flying. And when that happens, you know what they're going to do. They're going to, the media establishment's going to say, President Trump, he had his racists out there in the Caribbean shooting brown people that traffic drugs. Doesn't he know that racism is the worst thing in America, in the world? Nothing is worse than racism. Homicide and violent crime and terrorism, that's all nothing compared to racism. You say one or two words, that's worse than anything. So they're going to just say, even if the ex-military guys that do these things to to seize their stuff, even if it's black and Hispanic dudes that were in the military, they're going to say, oh, well, they're working for the white supremacists. We already know the deal here. It's all going to lead back to alleged white supremacy. And, you're going to see a lot of issues, though. You are going to see a lot of issues if we have dudes jacking dealers and traffickers in the Caribbean and in the Pacific. And, again, we'll have fun. We'll get to report on it. And you know who else will be involved, John? Our friends in Best Friend Land. So you guys, hey, look, this was just basically a test. I'm myself and Macaulay are going to be back after the first. He finished his book, which is Catch 420, and it's the story about how he was from. We're both from the same area, went to the same high school, and there was a major case in 2005 and 6 against a bunch of us, and I was investigated too during that one, Operation Green Speaker. And it was FBI, DEA, a bunch of California agencies, and then the local cops and the local sheriffs and local district attorneys. And Macaulay had to fight the case, and he ended up with Tony Serra. Tony Serra is a killer-ass lawyer, by the way. The guy, he's one of those lawyers who loves to fight the government just because he don't like the government. He's like a super libertarian. Yeah. And by the way, John, if you look it up, by the way, you can still see the case file. I kid you not. There's still a PDF somewhere for that operation, and it says like the investigative agencies and who's, the FBI, blah, blah. It's just the overall narrative of it and the timeline of it. And, I think it's in a PDF form from one of the counties from California. There was like 5 or 6 counties in California involved in the investigation, the state of California, and then the feds. And I believe that it's from the Madera Sheriff's Department or the Madera DA, which is the county north of me, or maybe 2 counties north of me that has it still online. In fact, here, let me see if I can find it since I'm bored and it's 2 days after Christmas. Operation Green Speaker, California. 2005. All right. Well. Yeah. Hey, here it is. Oh, they also called it. Okay, here we go. This should be it. Stanislaw. Okay, there we go. Hey, check this out, John. Hey, Merry Christmas to you. You get to see part of one of the cases that I was looked into at. Hang on here. Pull this up. Let's pull this up since I'm share screen. Here we go, right here. Can you guys see that? Let's see. There we go. Yeah, that's it. That's it. And we got, let's see here. Yeah, so this is, if you look at it, John, it's from December 6th, 2005. And let's see here. You got a comment that I need to approve, John. For some reason, it was holding. Oh, okay. All right. So, hey, somebody else handled it. Okay, good. So this here, John, check it out. And anybody watching, Sheriff HIDTA. HIDTA stands for High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area. So Sheriff HIDTA, and these HIDTA zones basically are areas that the government that the government put. It's like areas with a lot of cannabis back then, like Mendocino, Humboldt, my region too. We're called the HIDTA zones. But if it's a major coke corridor, like along the U.S.-Mexican border, or other drugs, they call them HIDTA zones, right? So anyhow, this here is the actual approved for the assistant sheriff to continue and okay, this is a funding request from the sheriff. They're asking for more than $100,000 to continue to do the investigation on everybody. So whenever these guys do their operations, DEA or whomever, they got to find a way to finance their operations, and a lot of times it's through asset forfeiture, right? But up front, they needed to get money from the county to help out. So they authorized assistant sheriff to contract in excess of 100 G's, and they authorized let's see, they capped it at 134,000 for the calendar year of 2005. And then it gets into, it has the names, and it says this, it talks about how the getting into green speaker here. Let's see, it's basically the contractor contract where that they got to sign to get their money. Oops, hang on. Yeah, see this, John? They've already been privatizing this. They were using independent contractors against all of us too. Look at that. William Rusamente, the guy was a former drug agent who works, who he retired from the DEA, so he's making contractor money to work for him though after he retired. So here we go. So this is the contractor agreement for him to investigate everybody. What a nice man. The work schedule, the office space that he got to have, his liability insurance, his auto insurance, workman's comp. Let's see, let's get down to state of the contractor agreement. So sheriff, this was the sheriff in Modesto at the time. Let's see. There's the signature for their money. Bro, they were billing California $62.62 an hour to investigate, and that's per person. And this guy here worked for 2,080 hours. So he got 2,080 times 64.62. Let's see what else. Yeah, so this is actually the funding agreement to go after everybody for one of the counties. So they, how nice of them. See if there's anything else on here. Yeah. Large scale. Yeah. So Operation Green Speaker, if you look at the AI on this, it turns out that you know who that, remember that guy that Obama sent a drone strike to, John? The Anwar guy? Apparently, maybe that one was also called something similar to it. That's kind of crazy that, hey, we got the same name as a radical cleric operation. Nice. Great. Anyway, so let's see, large scale. Yeah, so the campaign against marijuana planting. Oh yeah, there's a few things in here that could tie to us, but kind of funny. I can't believe we got the same name as a radical cleric. All right. There you go, John. So, yeah, so check it out. Yes. Yeah, it's, everybody will say it's both sides, right? It's both sides. They can do it if they open it up, you know, if the left does something, then the right can say, we'll do this kind of stuff too. And ultimately, it's the Constitution that gets gets the flack for it, Yeah, here's another thing right here. See, you got a good point too. One of the things that they used to as a justification for the search warrants in that case was they claimed there was meth dealers involved with this. And they found, I think, like an eighth or a quarter of an ounce on like one dude. So an 8 ball or a quarter of an ounce, bro, that's $100 to maybe 200 if it's 180, 175 if it's a quarter. That's all they found, and then they used that to do a multi-million-dollar anti-pot operation in Mendocino, in Humboldt, and in my region here. And so we have Mike McCallie, who was doing the show with me and Hootie originally. He'll be back on. He's promoting his book, and the way he wrote it, John, was he wrote it where he had to use other names for some of the characters, because otherwise you got to get so much permission. One of the problems with writing a tell-all book about this stuff, number one, neither he or I have ever snitched on anybody, so we don't have immunity. So we got to be careful there. And then the other thing too is you got to get permission. If you bring up somebody's name in a book, you better get their written permission, or they can take you to court. And if they don't, then you just have to you have to make a pseudonym for that character. And even then, if they don't like you, they could sort of theoretically say, you're making money off of what I did. Luckily, McCallie and me are pretty well liked with the guys that were involved in that case. They're all out. All of them are doing well, and more power to everybody. Yeah, well, you know what I mean, though. Like if you're writing a book and you mention other people, they get sue happy. Could be a problem. So if you write if you write something that's based on true events, if you have their permission, you can use their names. You can try to use their names without their permission. There's nothing against the First Amendment that stops that, but they could sue you for, saying they want a piece of your money, because it's also their right to their likeness. But if you write a true novel, if it's fictional but it's based on a true story, you can do what Hollywood does. You can just put whatever you want in there and say it's loosely based on this, and then you'll have no problems in court for the most part. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff with it. When a few years ago, me and Hootie were both like, all right, we gotta, we need to, get these book things going, right? And we talked to a few agents each. We had one gal that is pretty well known, that does some publishing, and Hootie's like, I'm here, I want to write my memoirs, which cracked me up. That made me laugh when Hootie said his memoirs, right? Hootie said he wants to write his memoirs, and it's hilarious. I love the guy. It's hilarious. I like how he put it, actually. So he said he want to write my memoirs, and so the and so with with his memoirs, right? The gal was like, well, if you have anybody that doesn't like you, then you got to be careful putting them in there, right? You got to put their details in there. And then same thing with me. I was like, okay, so besides that, putting people on blast when you don't have their permission, that's a crappy thing to do. As Ben Shapiro say, that's a crappy thing to do. My wife's a doctor, and that's a crappy thing to do, you guys. No, it is. It's a messed up thing to go, and it's also a try hard move too. You'll see these guys, they're trying to freaking throw names into stuff. You got guys that shout out names that ain't got nothing to do with them, but they're just trying to get some clout and get noticed, I guess. So, but when you're writing a book, though, you have to be you got to be on point with that. So, but when we do start doing these with them, me and him are going to drop some videos and do stories like kind of what I went over today, and then also we're going to have Mike Dowd on regular. Me and him talk all the time. fellow Irishman. So Mike Dowd, myself, McCallie, and there's quite a few others that are involved. Some of the names you guys already know, of course, and some that you don't. And our goal is just to chill, have fun, and put this out there and use this as a supplement for selling books and stuff like that. So, and also gets an opportunity to put things out there for future podcasts and stuff. We've had all of us have had a number of podcasts hit us up too. You know, it's funny. Back in the day, there was clowns that thought they were going to damage my relationship with Soft White and these other guys. Not at all. Not at all. It didn't work. Because before I even talk to these guys, the first thing I tell them is like, hey, so here's, you know, and I have an agent that works with me too. We put it out there that, you know, just like you guys, we get trolls too. Guess what? All these podcast channels, all these YouTube channels, they get trolling as well. So guess what they do? They ignore it when these clowns try to get a hold of them and talk shit. So they don't pay attention to it. You know, fools think they invented the wheel on that. So it's who's all right, what's up? Good to see you, whomever you might be. Yeah, John, you'd be a pretty good author, actually. You've been around the block a minute. You know, you are very knowledgeable, and you are able to. I've heard some of the stuff you say. You pick up on a lot of stuff, and you know how to articulate it. Are you Tony? Is this really you? All right. Hey, if it is, hey, I haven't come across your channel in a long time. If hopefully your pup's doing well and all that, and you and everything, and you guys God bless you. Okay. I hope you do well. All right. If it's, you know, I hope you guys do well. I want everybody to do well that has been cool with me. Let's see here. I want to write about being, yeah. Hey, we had that in California, believe it or not. They did the same thing out here. They called us all racist. Yeah, well, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I'll tell you one thing about you, Pizza. You have this uncanny ability to just survive shit. You know, it's these guys. I remember they would come at you at every angle, right? Every freaking angle. But you have this ability to just get right back up, and then they see the kind of money you were making, and they get all, you know, they get all jealous, right? You know, you're doing your thing, so you know you're one of those dudes that is like virtually unstoppable. You know, friggin' they just when they think they got you out for the count, boom, right when they think they got you out, you're right back up. You know, and you got a good amount of life experience too, being there on the streets of New York, and all the people you met, you know, all that. You got to at least hang out in New York during the coolest era too. You know, it's not a lot of people are going to want to hang around New York with Mom Donnie as the mayor, right? That dude will tax the pockets out of your pants, bro. All right, you guys. Hey, we're hitting the 1 hour mark. So I just said what's up. I was actually just testing the StreamYard here and getting my skills back as far as screen sharing and everything. And wish you all a happy new year. 2026 is going to be lit. My freaking 2025 was off the hook already. I did very well. I thank God, by the way, it's not just me. You know, we have a higher power that's there for us. I did pretty well this year. I'm very thankful. And 2026, I'll be running my business. I got my construction office still, and I shall be doing some of these shows here. So I appreciate you guys. Thanks, John. Thanks, Pizza. Everybody else who was in here. I didn't catch everybody. The truth. You can't forget about the truth. So, all right, you guys. Happy New Year. Merry belated Christmas. If you celebrate Hanukkah, Merry or Happy Hanukkah, however that goes. And I think that's it for the holiday. Or winter solstice. That's the other one. So other than that, I don't recognize any other December holidays if you catch my drift. Peace out, you guys.